Well, hello there, amazing students. All right, guys. So today we're doing a little bit of the same thing as last class in terms of finding the solution or the zero or the x-intercept or the root for quadratic formula. For quadratics, I'm sorry. Today, I'm going to show you another method. So other than using the factors and setting them equal to 0 and solving for x, we're going to do something called the quadratic formula. Some of you still may be wondering, I don't understand, Ms. Paxson, if we can graph them and find the zeros, why are we using these different methods? And it's because on your test, it's not just going to ask you what is the solution. It's going to ask you, how do the factors relate to the solution? What step in this quadratic formula was wrong? Can you identify the error? So there's a reason why I'm teaching these methods, because you're going to need them to explain the why and justify. Also, please remember, there's a no calculator section on your SAT exam, and the SAT exam is very highly algebra. Okay, right? So there's reasons why I don't depend on Desmos. Okay. So what is the quadratic formula? It's this lovely thing here. And before you get all crazy about it, trust me, some of you will memorize this by the end of the year. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So we're going to find the solutions to quadratics using the quadratic formula. So just a review from last class, when we factored, what did we do with our factors and how did they relate to our zeros? Well, we know that our factors to this was x minus 6 and x plus 1. And we noticed that the solutions, or the x-intercepts, are x equals negative 1 and x equals positive 6. And how do those relate? Well, we know that at the x-intercepts, the y values are 0. So we set our factors both equal to 0 and solved for x. Okay, so this is the connection we made last class. Okay, same thing where we found the factors, set them equal to 0 and solved, and noticed that how the factors related to the zeros. This class, we're going to use the quadratic formula. Now, honestly, the quadratic formula is going to help us when we can't factor something. And yes, there are times when you cannot factor. And these are the times where we would use that quadratic formula. Okay. So I have x squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0. So let's make sure, if you do not have the quadratic formula written down, please pause the video and write this down. So where's the a, b, and c's coming from? A is the coefficient in front of x squared. B is the coefficient in front of x. And c is that constant at the end of the quadratic. So let's look at this equation here. X squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0. Pause the video and write down what your a value, your b value, and your c value are. So what is the coefficient in front of x squared? It's 1. So my a value is 1. What is the coefficient in front of x? It is 4. So my b value is 4. And what is my constant? Pay attention to the sign in front. Is negative 21. Now that I've identified my a, b, and c, I'm going to use my quadratic formula. And I wish I didn't have this information here because I want to show you step by step how to do this. So let me see if there's a way I can clear this off the screen. I'm just going to write it on this one. So it was x squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0. So the a was 1, the b was 4, and my c was negative 21. All right, so let's write down the quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So let's plug in our values, okay, step by step. Negative b. My b is 4, so negative 4. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. b is 4, so 4 squared. Minus 4 times a. a is 1 times c. c is negative 21. All divided by 2a. a is 1. So I have not really done anything super complicated here. All I did was plug in the a, b, and c into this formula. Now let's simplify it step by step. So let's figure all this stuff out inside the square root symbol. So 4 squared is 16. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 times 1 times negative 21. All divided by, let's just go ahead and multiply 2 times 1. 2. Let's keep figuring out everything in here. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 21 is positive 84. So this is going to be x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 84, all divided by 2. How did I get 84 again? I'll tell you again. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 21 is positive 84. So that's how I said plus 84. And also remember, you could put all that into Desmos. So 4 squared minus 4, times 1 times negative 21, I meant to show you the 84 part, is 84. So that's where I got the 84. Notice when I did put in, though, that 4 squared part, it just told us the whole thing that's underneath the square root symbol. So the 16 plus the 84 is where that 100 is. So x equals negative 4 plus and minus the square root of 100, all divided by 2. What is the square root of 100, you may ask? The square root of 100 is 10, because 10 times 10 will give me 100. So that number times itself. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus 10, all divided by 2. We are almost there. Goodness. So I'm going to continue it right here. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, what is this plus or minus thing, Miss Patterson? That means you're going to do it twice. You're going to do x equals negative 4 plus 10 divided by 2. And you're going to do x equals negative 4 minus 10 divided by 2. So plus or minus means you're going to do both of those in two separate operations, two separate transactions. So negative 4 plus 10, 6 divided by 2. Negative 4 minus 10, negative 14 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Negative 14 divided by 2, negative 7. Ta-da! Miss Patterson, that was long. I know. You got it, though. You got a calculator. Now, you're asking, like, do we really need to go through all this stuff because you use Desmos? Yes, you need to go through all these steps because guess what? Your assignment is today. Is where you have to put these steps in order, okay? So understanding the steps will help you put them in order. So could I have put this in Desmos all along? Yes. There's one of my answers, right? There's the 3. And when I change this to minus sign, there's the negative 7. So you can quickly check your answer, okay, using the quadratic formula on Desmos. But you still have to know step by step. And I'm going to show you, if I put the quadratic formula in here, so cool, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. You can make these sliders. And I can put in my a, b, and c value. So my a value was 1, my b value was 4, and my c value was negative 21. Ta-da! There's my answer. And if I change this to a minus sign, ta-da! There's my other answer. Okay, so you could do this, again, to check your answer. But again, your assignment's going to be over doing the steps, not necessarily what's the answer, but the steps. All right, so let's look at this one. What I want you to do is pause the video, ignore this bottom part, and I want you to try to solve this out using the quadratic formula. So going through all these steps. Yes, this should take up most of your paper. So hopefully you paused the video. Let's identify our A, our B, and our C. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Negative b. Wait a minute, my b is already negative. So what do you think that means when I plug in that negative 4? That b is going to end up turning positive. That's right. Make sure when you plug anything, when you substitute anything in, you always put that thing in parentheses. Trust me. So negative 4 will be 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared is positive 16. Again, you have to put that in parentheses. Do not leave it out of parentheses. Minus 4 times 2 times negative 3, all divided by, let's go ahead and do 2 times 2, which is 4. So negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 3 is positive 24. So it'll be 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 24 divided by 4. 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 24 is 40. All divided by 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you. So add 4, when I add and when I subtract, and I put this into Desmos, it should give me these two answers. So if you're like, how do you put that into Desmos? Let me show you. So I wanted to know what 4 plus, the square root of 40, all divided by 4. And notice I'm putting, whenever I'm trying to put a whole expression on top, I need like a numerator or a denominator, I need to put that thing in parentheses. So 4 minus the square root of 40, close the parentheses, so that I can divide the whole thing by 4. So there are my two answers. And yes, I could have put this in to this handy dandy thing that I did right here. Okay, to check my final answer, So the A was 2, the B was -4, and the C was -3. And so there's one of my answers that I already got, and I need to change this to a plus sign to find the other answer. So the Desmos activity you're going to do today is going to be where you have to put the steps in order, maybe identify the error in a step, okay? But basically just really, really take your time calculating, plugging in, make sure you have no errors there. I hope y'all have a fantastic day. I miss you. Bye.